This is Mark Guerrero. Welcome to East LA Music Stories. My guest is Ray Rodriguez, a fantastic drummer, and he's been in a lot of East LA bands and other groups as well. But just kind of looking at his resume here, the bands that I recognize right off the top of my head, in the 60s, he played with the Royal Checkmates, the Fabulous Sounds, I remember them. The Enchantments were very popular. And in the 70s with Yaqui, Cannibal and the Headhunters, backing up Frankie Garcia, Little Ray, the great Little Ray. And in the 80s, Bobby Zarate. He's a very talented keyboard player, right? And singer.
Yeah, very talented keyboard player.
El Chicano and Redbone. I mean, some serious groups here. We're going to talk about all that. Welcome, Ray. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. How are you, Mark? Everything treating you good?
I'm really good, especially after we just did that concert, which maybe we should talk about first because it just happened.
I'm pretty stoked about that show we did.
It was about 10 days ago on September 6th, 2025, just 10 days ago. We played a concert at La Plaza de Cultura y Artes in downtown LA by Elvira Street. It was an event in conjunction with an exhibit at their museum there called A Great Day in East LA. I was a curator on that exhibit. And it was quite a show. I had 14 different people backing me up, in a sense, three different bands. Um, a band representing my first band, Mark and the Escorts, with three original members other than myself. My 70s band, Tango, with two other original members in addition to myself. And then I brought out the Yaqui guys with you and a bunch of great guest stars. And we did a concert that really went well. It's only 10 days ago. How do you feel about it? Tell me about your experience.
Oh, well, my experience with it is that I got to see some old musician friends of mine that I hadn't seen in a long time. And talking to everybody there brought a lot of good memories. Meeting some new musicians that I hadn't met before that they actually had heard of me, had heard of Yaki, and I have also heard of you. And then when we started doing our performance, just watching the audience react the way they did to what we were doing, and even what you were doing with Tango and what you were doing with the escorts, the turnout was fabulous. It was an awesome show. It was fantastic. It was really fantastic. And I can't wait to do more of that stuff with you and other projects that you might have.
I remember you told me that when you got home, your wife said that you had a big smile on your face and you just looked happy.
Yeah, exactly what I told her, 'cause that's what she said. And then I just looked at her and said, I'm happy. I'm happy. I haven't felt this happy in a long, long time. It's been a long time, you know.
Yeah. I know you have challenges with your wife and her health and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She anyway, that's another story,
That's another
but
story.
she's been ill off and on since 2005, back and forth. And I'm helping her a lot, what she needs to do. But
Right.
it's coming along. It's going well.
So what'd you think of your own performance and our band's performance?
Well, with my own performance at the beginning, like anything else, being that I haven't done something like this in a long time, and I was really stoked about it. But gotta be honest, hey, I was a little nervous. I had my butterflies in my stomach, but once I started rolling with it, it felt so good. I mean, it was like riding a bike with a 2000 motor on the bike, or being on a skateboard with a motor attached to it, or even riding the waves at the ocean, on a boogie board. I mean, it was fantastic. It's hard to explain, but it was fantastic.
Yeah, you
It
nailed
was,
it. And we did a lot of different grooves.
yeah,
The portion of the show that you played on was about the last two-thirds of the show.
yeah,
And we did like three of my sort of Latin rock songs. So you had those grooves going. Then we did two of my dad's songs. One of them was a swing rock and roll thing in Spanish, and you had to really swing it, which is a whole
yeah,
different vibe. Then we went into Los Chucos Suaves, which is a Pachuco song, which is kind of, it's salsa-like and it's kind of like a cumbia, but it's
yeah.
very complex, and you had a great groove on that.
I appreciate that.
Then we did Rockin' in the Free World by Neil Young in tribute to my former bass player, Rick Rosas, who used to work with Neil Young. He passed in 2014, so we dedicated it to him, and we rocked that one. We rocked the hell out of that one. And then my song
Yes, we
I'm
did.
Brown, I'm Brown was a killer. And and we ended with Land of a Thousand Dances. So it was a lot of different grooves, and you nailed everything, and it felt really good. You had a lot of power, a lot of energy. And then we were blessed to have on Latin percussion Sal Rodriguez of War. And for the last three or four songs, Fredo Ortiz, the drummer from Los Lobos, jumped on the congas. And so we had these two incredible percussionists with you. So with your drums and two percussionists, it was off the charts, man.
Well, let me tell you something. Working with Sal, I hadn't seen him in a long time. I actually lost touch with him for a while. I guess the first time I actually met him was a concert that I think you did up at Griffith Park. I can't even recall how long ago that was at, but it was a couple of decades ago. And and I enjoyed his playing. And at that time, I also discussed with him that it would be great that maybe sometime in the future, it would be great if him and I would work together at some point in time.
Yeah.
And better late than never. And it turned out really well. And him and I, we spoke with each other. We kind of clicked, and we had our grooves together. He kept on looking at me. I looked at him, for certain cues or whatever he was going to do. And it was great to work with him. I actually really love working with this guy.
He's a fantastic drummer. He's been playing with War for over 20 years, and he's just
Yeah.
phenomenal. But he's also great with Latin percussion.
Yeah.
And then we had the background vocalists. We had Nancy Sanchez and Greg Esparza. And my drummer from Tango and the Escorts came and also did backgrounds. But it was so cool to have the background singers there and kind of dancing around. It added to the whole show and the energy of the whole thing. And my favorite sax player, Steve Alanis, who's incredible. Um, and then as far as the Yaqui guys, it was Jimmy Seville on keyboard, you and Art Sanchez on bass. And we had my friend and guitarist from Tango, John Valenzuela, playing. Unfortunately, Ron Reyes of Yaqui was supposed to play with us, but he fell ill and he was unable to make the gig. And he seems to be going through some health issues right now. So all the best to him. But it was a really incredible show. My videographer got it all with three cameras. I've been posting a lot of the performances on YouTube. If you just look up Mark Guerrero uh, live at La Plaza, it'll come up, La Plaza de Cultura y Artes. And I'm really pleased with it. And I'm still buzzing about it, as I'm sure we all are. And we're playing this Saturday here in Cathedral City. The core of that band, five of us, the Yaqui guys, John Valenzuela and Steve Alanis. We're going to do the same show, but just with five backup people instead of 14. But it'll work because we got the core. And we're going to be doing that one in downtown Cathedral City and on Lalo Guerrero Avenue. My dad, and the street's named after him there. And there's a statue of him right across the street from where we're going to be playing on Saturday. So that's a pretty cool thing
That's
too.
great. That's
Yeah.
great.
So that's what's happened really lately. And now we're going to start all the way at the beginning. Let's just start at the very beginning in terms of
Okay.
how did you get involved in music? How did that happen in the first place?
Well, when I was in junior high school, when you get there to be in the seventh grade, you get to choose certain electives outside of your regular math, history classes, and all that. And I wanted wood shop in the beginning, and I wanted to do a little mechanic stuff, but it was all already taken. So the only thing that was left was to get into the music classes. And I wasn't favorable to that in the very beginning, but as I got into it, I started to like it little by little. So when I first started my class, I wound up starting the class working on the snare drum by itself. And then about a month later, I was on the timpani, and then I was on cymbals, and then the rest of percussions. So by the end of the semester, I started to like it. So for the next semester, rather than to get back into trying to get into wood shop or any other kind of other programs they had, I decided to go ahead and sign up for music again. And I kept on telling, my teacher that I wanted to learn this, I wanted to learn that, and he kind of took time to kind of teach me certain things on the snare drum, certain things on the timpani, and I was doing it really well. I wound up performing for my graduation in the ninth grade in the orchestra. And when my parents were there, they saw me playing the snare drum. They saw me playing the other percussion instruments and timpani. And my mom and dad were really proud as to what I was doing. So believe it or not, after graduation, come that summertime, my dad wound up scraping money, borrowing this and that, from his family, and he bought my first set of drums. And my first set of drums that I got was actually a three-piece pink champagne Roger set.
Wow.
And I started playing on that. And it was really funny because when I started playing the drums, I was doing all the snare, the toms, and the cymbals, but I couldn't get the coordination with my pedal. So it took a couple of months to get that, and finally, by the following year, when I got into high school, then I met some other musicians there that wanted kind of to put a band together. So when we started putting a band together, that's when I started focusing more on getting my coordination with the bass drum and my snare drum and cymbals. And then I got together with about four or five guys, and then we decided to call ourselves the Checkmates. And we had our rehearsals at my mom and dad's house on Tuesdays and on Thursdays. And then to where my mom and dad felt that we were pretty good. So then they started saying, oh, well, let me talk to so and so. Let me talk to this person and that person. Maybe we can get you guys to play for a party. And that's basically how it all started in the very beginning. After about a year or two, there were some changes going on with some of the members. And a couple of the guys had left and we had to regroup. And by the time we regrouped again, that's when from the Checkmates, it became the Royal Checkmates. And we got a few other members. And from that point on, we started doing little garage gigs, house parties, a couple of weddings, quinceañeras, or sweet 16s back then. Quinceañeras didn't come until way later. But that's how it went.
Can you name some of the members that were in that band?
Besides myself, there was a keyboard player named Joe Herrera.
Hmm.
He was the keyboardist. Then there was a vocalist, Eddie Jones. He was a vocalist and a guitar player. Then there was a bass player, Albert Alaman. He was the bass player. There was a rhythm guitar player, Richard Sines. And then we had another singer, I believe, Freddie Sines. Richard Sines and Freddie Sines were not brothers, but they had the same last name.
What kind of venues did you play? Did you play like the Kennedy Hall and those famous East
We
Side
did the Kennedy
venues?
Hall, we did the Little Union. We did a couple of the high school dances. We did junior high, Hollenbeck Junior High. We did Roosevelt, Stevenson, Belvedere. What's that other high school in Montebello? I think it was Sure High.
Hmm.
We played those. Then we played a couple of block parties throughout the years, you know, till my time after about a year or two, it came to an end with the Royal Checkmates, and then I left.
And then is that when you joined Mafia Limited slash mixed company? Tell me about that.
Yes, it was the same group. Mafia Limited was basically based out of a school teacher out of Hollenbeck Junior High School. He was a course teacher. And he had a little group, but I guess he was having a problem with a drummer that he had that he no longer was able to perform with him. And being that he had heard of me through word of mouth and also heard of the Royal Checkmates, he got a hold of me and asked me if I could join his group. I didn't know what he was about or what type of music he was going to do. But when I got into the group, I found out later that they were basically doing a lot of soul music. And we started rehearsing. And when we started rehearsing, we actually rehearsed at the Hollenbeck Junior High School auditorium. That was the that was the home ground for rehearsing with Virgil Patterson and the Mafia Limited.
Is
You
that the
know,
band that my former bandmate from the Mark and the Escorts, Robert Warren, was in?
yes, that's where I met him is through
And
Mafia
you saw
Limited.
him the other night at the concert.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As far as the musicians, besides Virgil, he was the teacher, the keyboard player. His wife was also a vocalist, Geraldine. He had a conga player and a background vocalist. Conga player was Mike Lickback. He was a conga player out of Belvedere Junior High. And then Georgia, she was a background vocalist. She was also a school teacher, I believe Stevenson uh, High School, I guess, or junior high. I'm not really sure.
Steven, that's a junior high.
Yeah. And then bass player, we had Danny Rocha.
Mhm.
He was the bassist. And then myself.
And you say, and you played the same similar kind of venues.
We same similar kind of venues, but sometimes it was a little different. He had a whole other type of venue, like in the Inglewood area. He did private parties. He did family gatherings. We played a couple of times for one of his congregations that he was involved in, and it turned out really well. It turned out really well, you know.
So as far as genres of music, what did the Royal Checkmates play? The usual doo-wop, R&B. What was your repertoire?
We were doing more like surf music at the time. We were
We all
doing
started with
some,
surf music at the
yeah,
time.
and then we started doing some soul stuff pertaining to Otis Redding, maybe Stevie Wonder. What else did we do?
Not too much British invasion.
No, it wasn't around back then when I was playing with the Royal Checkmates at
And what
all.
about with Mafia Limited? Same thing, same kind of repertoire.
Mafia Limited was a lot of the soul stuff, mostly. A lot of the soul stuff. Dionne Warwick, um, um, Temptations, Four Tops, Diana Ross and the Supremes.
So by then the British invasion was happening, but you guys still weren't playing it, right?
Yeah, still wasn't playing that.
And a lot of East LA bands were like that.
Yeah.
So the next band says 1967 to 68, The Admirations. What was that band about?
That one was basically around also soul music, but we did a lot of doo-wop groups like the Dells, the Stylistics. We did some Otis Redding as well.
I don't remember that group, but did they play a lot of the
Yeah, we
East
did a
LA
lot of
venues?
venues. Kennedy Hall, Little Union. We did the Big Union. We did Montebello Ballroom. We did the Roger Young. We also did the East LA Rock and Roll Show. In the very beginning, I guess when the East LA Rock and Roll shows started to come about, we did those.
With
Yeah,
the
we
Admirations?
yes, with the
And so
admiration.
you must have been recorded, right? They used to record those and
Yeah,
put out their albums.
yeah.
So next are the Fabulous Sounds, and you have that as around 1967 to 68. And I know that Bobby Navarrete was in those groups, a sax player that later played with Tierra and the Midnighters.
Yeah.
Oh, were you in the band with him?
Yes, I was. Along with him was a baritonist. I don't know if you know him, Bubbles Huff. He was a great baritonist. Uh, then there was a bass player was also Bozo, known as Mike Rodriguez.
I remember
Yeah.
Bozo.
Um, Bozo and I kind of worked really close together. He enjoyed my drumming and stuff like that, but he used to tell me that I could do a little bit better on my foot. So we used to have separate rehearsals and we would take time out and he would show me certain licks that he wanted me to do on the bass drum and he would show it to me on his bass and I would go ahead and try it. So after a while, I wound up getting a lot of those different licks that he was doing to the point where then I started doing my own licks after that. And I appreciated the fact that he took time to sit with me and to try to improve my drumming and especially my foot skills.
So you would have these little bass and drum rhythm section
Yeah.
rehearsals. That's really
Yes.
helpful.
Yeah.
Oh. We kind of did that on that. Remember, our third rehearsal was basically bass
Yeah,
and drums, and really we were concentrating on that, and it really
yeah.
helped smooth everything out. And what about the Enchantments? They were very popular. And were you in when Eddie Serrano was lead vocalist?
Yes, I was. As a matter of fact, it was kind of ironic because I think Eddie had his regular drummer, and either he took ill or he was going to do something for a short time that he was not going to be able to play with the group at all. And being that he had heard of me being with the Fabulous Sounds, and at that time, I had already parted with the Fabulous Sounds for whatever the reason was at that time. I can't recall. He got my number through another musician, and I came to play for a short while with the Enchantments with Eddie. And
And was Bobby Brambilla on rhythm guitar still?
yes, he was. As far as different things that we did high school dances, a couple of private parties. We did birthday parties, a couple of weddings. We did the big union, little union. That was about it. For the short time that I was there, that's what I did with them.
So you probably joined after they made their record, I'm in Love with Your Daughter.
Yeah, it was probably afterwards. I never played that with them though. I never did.
And they played some rock and roll shows. You didn't play a rock and roll show with them.
No, no.
So how long would you say you were in the group?
Probably maybe 6 to 9 months.
Okay.
6 to 9 months.
But that's a lot of popular groups you were in the 60s. And going into the 70s, you have a group called the Bang Gang. Interesting name for a group.
Yeah.
Tell me about them.
Bang Gang was basically a soul kind of group. They did a lot of uh, it was a lot of R&B top 40 relating to Sam and Dave, relating to the Four Tops, the Temptations, Smokey Robinson, that kind of genre.
So it sounds to me like most of your career up to now was more R&B than anything else, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, yeah, pretty much. And the leader of the group and the vocalist was a guy named Danny Ray, and he did all those songs. As far as the musicians that were there, it's so far back that I can't even remember who the bassist was, keyboard, or the guitar and player was, or the rhythm player.
Were they also an East LA band?
Yes, they were. Their home for gigging was the Masquerade Room, which was in a bowling alley on Beverly Boulevard. They had Beverly Boulevard Alley. They had a little a club there called the Masquerade Room, and that's where I was working with them for a while.
Did you
Probably
have
for
to did you have to be 21 to play that place?
yeah, yeah.
You were around 21 at the
I
time.
was already 21 by then.
Okay. And they never made any records or anything.
No, not
In
at
fact,
all.
all these groups, none of them really made any records so far, right?
No, not when I was in them.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Okay, now comes Yaqui. Now that's where things get really interesting. So how did you wind up joining Yaqui?
It's a funny story there because we were just talking about the Bang Gang, and it turns out that these three guys, we were in the middle of second or third song. I guess it was in the second set, and I saw these three guys walk in, and there wasn't a whole lot of people in the venue. One had, well, actually, all of them had real long hair, past their shoulders. And when we got on break, they called me over to their table where they were sitting, and I introduced myself. I says, I'm Ray Rodriguez. And they says, yeah, we kind of knew about you already, but we wanted to come down here and hear you play because we're looking for a drummer. And the ones that were there to hear me play was Eddie Serrano, it was Art Sanchez, and Ron Reyes.
Hmm.
So they said, well, we like what you're doing, but they asked me if I ever played rock and roll. Have I ever played anything by Doobie Brothers or Chicago? or Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And I says, no, not really. I've heard of all these groups and I've heard the material. So it says, well, we're looking for a drummer. And we like your style. We like what you do. And we'd like to know if you're interested in auditioning for the group. So I say, sure, that'd be a great idea. So we kind of exchanged phone numbers and whatnot. And they says, there's another little catch to it. It says, we want to put this group together as being two drummers. It says, how do you feel about that? I says, wow, that's really great. I was really stoked about that. It was great. It was you know, uh, I think back in the 60s, there was one group uh, that had two drummers, and I can't remember the name, but if I can recall, if the name of the song is Black is Black,
There were Los Hombres.
Los Hombres. I'm not sure if they were the ones that had two drummers. When I heard that group with two drummers, I said, man, that's awesome. I wish I could do that. So that gave me the opportunity, and I said, I jumped to it right away. So they set up the audition. It was about, maybe it was about 3 to 4 weeks later. I got called and it says, we got a rehearsal place, came down, and they says, we're going to introduce you to this other drummer that we're interested in. So I says, cool. So I went down there, I set up my stuff. Half hour later, the other drummer comes in. Then I find out he was the percussion player with El Chicano, which was
Rudy Regalado. Rudy
Rudy
Regalado.
Regalado. Yeah, Rudy Regalado. And that's how I got to meet Rudy. And from that point on, we clicked. We clicked. And the rest was history with Yaqui, you know.
Boy. Well, at that point, Rudy Regalado had already been with El Chicano
Yes.
as a percussionist, but he also once in a while played the trap set. I saw him play that with him one time, and he was great as a drummer too.
Yeah. Well, it was crazy because the material that I guess that Yaqui was about and that Ronnie, George Ochoa, Art Sanchez were writing and stuff like that were basically writing in a way where two drummers can fit to exchange certain patterns or play the same patterns back and forth. And we had extensive rehearsals, really extensive rehearsals, where where me and Rudy we exchanged different patterns, different beats. We discussed what's going to work, what's not going to work. Well, I'll do this while you do that. And maybe in the next verse or the next turnaround, we can switch it up, around. And that's what we did. And we also had, me and Rudy also had our separate rehearsals also, so we can tighten up as two drummers
Would
together.
you try to get like your foot patterns together and stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah, so they wouldn't be off or out of sync with each other, you know. And we did that for about an hour or two before the actual rest of the guys came in to rehearse.
And
So
you probably had Larry Cronin on organ already, right?
yeah, Larry Cronin was in the group. You figure Larry Cronin, George Ochoa, Eddie Serrano, which he was a vocalist also. He played the percussion, he played the congas. And then there was Art Sanchez and Ron Reyes, and that was the nucleus of Yaqui.
And so at the time, let's see, and then you made the album Yaqui in '72, and at that time we shared the same manager, Art Brambilla,
Yeah,
who also managed Tierra.
yeah,
And at that time, Tierra was recording their first album. You guys were doing your first album, and I was recording as a solo artist with Capitol, but with my Tango guys before we were Tango. And
yeah.
then we wound up getting signed to A&M. We did our album for A&M. So all three of us made albums at the same, right around the same time. And they're all, if I do say so myself, they're all great. I mean, really special records with a lot of energy, that youthful enthusiasm and power.
Well, you figure from time to time, I actually listen to the Yaqui album. I don't have a turntable, so I listen to it on the CD, and I also have the Yaqui album on my computer. And when I listen to it, for as young as we were, and I'm talking about ranging from the ages of 21, 22, 23,
Right.
24 years old, we were some dynamite, kick butt musicians.
I'm telling you, and that applies to all three of our groups.
Yeah,
I listened
yeah,
to Tierra's first album,
mhm,
my album, and I look back now and I go, that was like 50 years ago.
yeah.
And we knew how to record, we were tight, we had pretty damn good musicianship, good songs, pretty amazing. And
Hmm.
none of us got promotion. I
No, none.
don't know if it had to do with our ethnicity, but we didn't get any. But we made great albums.
Yeah, we sure did. We sure
And the
did.
Yaqui album, I've had many Yaqui guys as guests. I've already interviewed George Ochoa, Art Sanchez, Ron Reyes. So we've talked about the album, and you and I will talk about it too. Um, the thing about your album was the diversity of material, you know. Our album was pretty much rock and roll and country rock.
Hmm.
Tierras was pretty diverse. They had some real Latin rock stuff. They had some kind of Chicago type stuff with horns. Um, this kind of like uh, doo-wop and R&B. But you guys went from like heavy metal to Led Zeppelin inspired stuff to stuff that sounded like Crosby, Stills and Nash to rock and roll. Uh, there's quite a diversity of songs, and you guys played them all really well.
Well, it's
Blues.
funny. It's funny you should say it because that's how basically I got to learn the other different styles of music. Ronnie and Art and George Ochoa led me into the direction of listening to Crosby, Stills and Nash. Led me to listen to the Doobie Brothers, Chicago. All those people from back in that day of what they liked playing and doing, and that's how I got to introduce into playing rock. And at that point, I guess for me to stay with the group and to kind of still be up to par with everything, I had to hone my skills to learn the different techniques and the different fields of rock and roll, and even country rock or soft rock, as you might want to put it.
Well, you played great on it, man. Let's start talking about certain songs. My favorite record on that album is She Caught the Katy. I
Ah,
mean,
yes.
those two vocals, Eddie and George singing harmony on that blues song, Taj Mahal,
Hmm.
sang their asses off. The groove was so great. All the parts, and George on harmonica, blues harp. I mean, killer tune. So was that different from the style that you had been doing?
Yeah, it was a whole new different thing for me, and I enjoyed every bit of it, and I made sure that I studied the different types of styles that the guys were doing, what they were listening to. I used to, when they were writing their songs and doing the arrangements. Normally, I think when a drummer is in an original group, and when you have a group that's writing material, and then you got the bass player, guitar player, keyboard player, and they're kind of putting their ideas together, doing the arrangements. I find that maybe some of the drummers say, well, hey, I'll catch you guys tomorrow, whatever. I made it my business to stick around and listen to their arrangements, listen to what they were doing. So this way, I would get an idea as to what my thought would be appropriate drumming for either the entire song or even for sections of the song. Because some songs that you hear from back in the past, you'll hear like Blood, Sweat, and Tears, some of the songs they did in their albums, where the drummer goes from one section to another section to another section, and they're like different segments or different patterns, but when you hear it all together, it's all uniform, it all blends into one, so basically that's where I was trying to hone my skills to do kind of the same thing with our original music.
It doesn't surprise me that you delved deep like that because you did that with this recent project we did.
Mhm.
We did 4 rehearsals for this concert, and we recorded each rehearsal, and you made sure to really study the tapes and do your homework, and you were very serious about it, and you cared about it. So I really appreciated that, and that probably goes back as kind of your nature to put yourself into it like that.
Well, I'll tell you, for something like that, and I appreciate everything that you said about me and my work ethic and stuff like that. Um, um, I hadn't had a rehearsal or a project like this in a long, long time. Even when you and I did the 2017 Mi Hacienda concert that we did for you, I got in depth, but not like I did this one. I hadn't had something like this. Working with you doing this project was kind of reminding me of working my old Yaqui days, how we were, on the nail, on the nail, just doing it back and forth. And that felt so good. That felt great to me. And I was happy about that. And I was also proud of what I've done, especially working with you.
Thank you. Yeah, I was a stickler on this because, it was an important show given our age, given the opportunity that's in Los Angeles. And I took this very seriously and I wanted to get it as good
Mhm.
as possible. And we did 4 serious rehearsals on this thing. We were all serious about it. And that's why it felt so good. And it paid off when the show came. It really showed that we really put some time into it.
Well, it did. I can't say much more about it. That it was a lot of hard work, but it like you said, it paid off. And I'm going to continue to doing more hard work. And for as long as I can work with you, I'm going to do my utmost best to my best for you.
Thank
And
you. And everybody also, there was no egos involved. It wasn't a matter of don't tell me how to play or don't. It was like we were just, I could say whatever and everybody would take it seriously and try things. And there was no ego about any of it. It was just we all wanted it to be really good. I really appreciated that.
and the thing about me, especially working with you, even working with different vocalists in different groups. Normally, what I like to do is when I'm having rehearsals or there's certain songs where there's a lot of changes, a lot of vocal happening. My main focus is to listen to the vocalist because normally I get all my cues and my different things that I do as far as drumming and feels. I rely on the vocal, and it's important for me because if I start doing some out of the norm, where you doing a vocal, and say for example you're doing a certain line, but then you do another line, and I jump and hit a tom tom or do a drum roll where it's going to conflict with the vocal thing that you're doing, then that's not a good thing. That's not a good
Yeah.
thing.
And that goes back to recording, right? That's especially
Yeah.
important in recording to
Mhm.
serve the song, not get in the way of the vocalist, not to be too busy, not to be showing off, just to
Yeah.
serve the song. And you're really good at that. So getting back to the Yaqui thing, and the diversity, there was a song, what was it called? I Need a Woman. I mean, I teased George about it. He wrote the song. I said,
Yeah.
George, you must have been really horny when you wrote that song. But I
Well,
guess
I
we
was
all were at that age. But man, I need a woman to satisfy the masculine beast in my soul. But you guys were like literally playing heavy metal. It sounded
uh
like freaking
yeah, I think I
Metallica.
think I think George was the one who I'm not even sure if George was the one who actually started writing that song.
No, it was his
It
song.
was Ronnie, or but the way they put it together, and like I says, the rehearsals, when I kept on listening to it, kept on listening to it, you know, me and Rudy would kind of look at each other because we weren't doing anything. We're at the rehearsal hall just listening to what they're doing. And then I go to Rudy, I says, "Hey, I got an idea for this. I'm gonna try a little something here and then see what you can come up with." So I start, doing the tom tom and snare fills with a couple of accents, and then Rudy kind of followed along. So me and Rudy looked at each other, and then we says, "Oh, that's going to work." And then by the time the guys finished and putting it together, we told Ronnie and Art. I says, "Hey, let's try it with Rudy and myself doing this." And once we kicked it off and we tried it, it was magic. It worked.
Then you had Mitote, which was a complete Latin rock thing.
Yeah.
Whole other vibe
Yeah.
and authentic.
That song Mitote, that was kind of like a little hard when I had to really study that song to figure out. what I was gonna do because it wasn't your regular it wasn't your regular kind of a Latin or a salsa type of feel that I wanted to do because Rudy was gonna do his timbales part and then Eddie was gonna do the congas there. But I wanted to kind of offset that. So I did a couple of licks that I don't know if you're familiar with an old 60s drummer, Bernard Purdy Purdy.
Absolutely. Played with
Yeah,
Steely Dan a lot too.
yeah, I learned a lot of different licks from that drummer. So what I did is I got a combination of a few little things and I kind of made it my own. And that's how I kind of created the drum feel for Mitote,
Mm.
which uh, which it was really a funny story to Mitote because the original name for Mitote was not that. The original name for it that George had made for that or did for that was called peyote.
Mm.
And the record company,
Beauty.
yeah, and the record company wasn't going for it.
Mm.
So they
Well,
said,
after all, you were called Yaqui, so it would have fit in.
yeah, so he had to change it, so that's how
Oh,
I
I didn't know
came
that.
about that. Yeah. And it came out really well. I like that recording.
So, how many songs did you and Rudy, how many did you do double drums?
She Caught the Katie.
Mm.
I Need a Woman.
Mm.
Actually, I think that's the only two. That's the only
That,
two.
that amazes me because She Got the Katie is so tight. I can't even imagine that there were two drummers on
Well,
that.
me and Rudy worked hard on that. We worked actually we worked about a week and a half to kind of making it sound the way it did in the recording. So it turned out really well.
Now, another one I want to mention is Blue Harbor. I like that a lot. And that
Yeah,
one's obviously influenced by Crosby, Stills, and Nash,
yeah.
And but it's all that style. It kind of reminded me of um, Long Time Coming, that kind of a
Hmm.
song, that kind of groove and chorus and harmony, blues verses with a harmony chorus.
Hmm.
But that was a whole other vibe, and you played that great too. Was that one drummer? Was that you?
That was all me, and then Rudy on timbales and Eddie on the congas. And what I did as far as the drumming on that, I took a little piece of Doobie Brothers, a little piece of Steely Dan, um, a little piece of I think it was called the drummer Nigel Olsson, I believe
Elton John?
yeah, Elton John. So I took like kind of little pieces of each of those drummings to kind of put that Blue Harbor vibe together as far as the drumming was concerned.
Very nice. Well, we got to mention Time for a Change.
Hmm.
That was kind of a standout, kind of the single, and it was very much kind of a La Bamba
Yeah.
groove and chord progression. Now,
I might add to that song. I didn't do that recording.
you didn't do that recording. Who played on it?
No, Kenny Roman.
Oh, is that, how did that happen? That was
Uh,
before you joined?
that they recorded that song before I joined the group. They had already had that on the market.
Okay.
So that was a song that I got introduced to the group, and then from that point on, then the rest of the songs came right after that. But I never did that recording.
Well, I would assume that it was because Kenny Roman was Tierra's first drummer. He was Tierra's drummer, so they probably
Yeah,
borrowed him because they
yeah,
didn't have a drummer.
yeah.
You know.
I had to learn that song myself, and then Rudy did his parts. I did my parts. I tried to stay close to the meat of the song. I didn't want to change it up any different than.
There was a lot of cross-pollination going on because, like, we had Steve Salah sing background on one of our songs.
Yeah,
Um, Yaqui had Kenny Roman, like you said, playing on that song, but they also used David Torres on trumpet, and they used some of the
yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
on that record.
When all that happened, I was in the group. I was in the group. Yeah.
Got it, got it. So now, after the album came out and it wasn't promoted, you guys did some touring. Did you go up north with the guys,
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
and is that when you were involved with Cannibal as well?
Um,
Because I know you did one tour back in Cannibal.
no, we went on our own at first. I think it was after the album. I think it might have been in 70, tail into 73, tail into 74, somewhere around there.
Before
Uh,
we get to that, Were you the drummer when they played at the Whiskey?
Oh God.
And you would remember if you played the Whiskey, I would guess.
Yeah, I played the whiskey with a lot of different groups.
Um, because Ronnie's told the story on his recent interview that the guys from Chicago came in and listened
Yes,
to
yes,
it.
I was.
Okay,
Terry
well then you
Kath.
were there.
Yeah,
That's
Terry Kath.
when Terry Kath heard Ronnie and liked his guitar playing.
Yeah, yeah. In my mind, sometimes my mind slips a little bit.
Well, we're getting a tad old here. Yeah, well, that was quite a thing, and Ronnie was blown away by that because Terry
Yeah.
Kath was such an
I was
incredible.
also kind of kind of getting confused also with the Starwood because the Starwood as Yaqui, that was our second home for about 2 years.
Really, you played there a lot?
That was our home for 2 years. We played there constantly, constantly. In and out that came out of when we were there was like Cheap Trick, Brothers Johnson, Black Oak, all those people went through Starwood there. Buddy Miles went through Starwood, and we kept on playing back and forth. When they were there, they finished, and we would go the next week or two to play at the Starwood. That was our home.
I remember the place. In fact, that's the place that launched Van Halen, but I think that was a little later,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it was.
Yeah. Well, wow, that was quite a venue.
Mhm.
So, now when you went on the road, is that when you had Jimmy Savile on keyboard, or did he replace Larry Cronin around that time?
No, that was the second time around when
Second tour?
second tour, yeah. First tour was with Larry Cronin.
Okay, so tell me about that. Is that the one where you guys got stranded in Canada?
Yeah, we went. Well, we got stranded up there where we had no more gigs and we had to try to weasel our way back home because we didn't have any money. So we had to find somewhere, call different nightclubs, beer bars, anything that could give us a gig to make some money so we can work our way back home.
How
You
long
know,
did that take?
oh God, coming back, trying to get gigs, it took probably about a couple of months to get enough money to come back home.
Is that the tour when you were up there and you met Cheech and Chong?
Um,
Or was that the one, the later tour?
and that was a later tour.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so the second tour is the one where it was Jimmy Savile, and is that when you backed up Cannibal?
Yes.
So talk about that one.
When we picked up Cannibal, he wanted to do a tour going back up north, and I guess our first stop might have been Bakersfield, but I can't really recall. We might have done Bakersfield, but then we stopped in San Francisco. Did I think it was one gig there? I can't even recall the name of the place. And then we went up further till we got to I guess it was Cheney, Washington. I think it was Cheney in Washington. Then we went to Spokane.
So when you played with Cannibal, how were you billed? I think Ronnie explained to me you weren't billed as
Oh,
Cannibal the Headhunters. You were kind of the backup band.
this is the way it was. We were Cannibal and the Headhunters, which was Cannibal himself. It was Eddie Serrano and George
As the Headhunters,
as the
and you
Headhunters.
were the backup band.
We were the backup band, and we were Yaqui as the backup band.
Okay,
So it was Cannibal Headhunters with the backup Yaqui.
got it. Okay.
That's and that's how that came about.
So
You
how
know,
was it working back in Cannibal?
it was good. I mean, sometimes we had a little rough moments, but majority of the time it was good good gigs, good response from the audience. We had good turnouts. The shows were good. We did good. We did really good. You know, and I guess when it was till it was time for us to come home.
Were you with the band when they were on the bill with Linda Ronstadt and she broke her foot?
Yes, yes, I was in the group. Funny story to that is that we were the opening act for Linda Ronstadt. We had taken sound check. So when it was time for us to perform, we played our show and we were supposed to stop because then she was supposed to come on and we got a flag saying that she's not here, she's not here, she's not here. So we kind of kept on playing till we got the flag that she was here. It turns out that apparently she didn't like the room that she got and she got pissed off and she kicked the door. And I guess it was broke her toe or something like that. She went to the hospital, had it bandaged up, had a short cast on, and she actually got up on stage with a short cast on. And basically, that was the deal with Linda Ronstadt with the show that she did, and but she did a pretty good show. She did a really good show, and we kicked butt as well, with our Yaqui album that we did. We had really a great turnout, good response from the audience as well, you know.
So while we're talking about Yaqui, let's move forward and we'll come back in time again. But after those tours and you guys eventually broke up, years and years passed, decades passed, and I had already created my website and I was getting a lot of emails from a lot of people. I was writing articles and starting to chronicle the history of East LA and Chicano rock. And somebody emailed me and said, "How come Yaki's album is not available? You can't get it anywhere." So I called up Art Brambilla, our former manager, and I said, "Hey, what's going on with the Yaqui album?" And he said, "Well, I own it now. I own the master." And I said, "Hey, a lot of people, this one person, but I'm sure a lot of people would be interested, including myself, in seeing it released again in some form, even if you press up a few hundred CDs or 1,000 CDs, just so it's available." And he said, "Hey, it sounds like a good idea." So Art manufactured a bunch of CDs, and Art, being the promoter and the businessman that he is, he organized a reunion show of Yaqui and sort of an album release party slash, reunion. And by that time, Eddie Serrano had passed. He had
Yes.
passed, when was that, the late 90s, something like that?
Yeah, it was the late 90s. Can't exactly know what date, but it was in the late 90s.
Yeah. And so you guys asked me to come in and sing Eddie's parts.
Mhm.
And I was very happy to do that. And so we put together a show, had one or two, couple of rehearsals, and we did mostly Yaqui songs. We did at least 6 songs from the album. And then we did a few of mine. We did, I think we did On the Boulevard. We might have done Get Your Baby. We did Los Chucos Suaves, my dad's song, and I'm Brown. So it was sort of, it was part of the show was my stuff. Most of the show was Yaqui stuff. But I sure had a good time playing and singing the Yaqui stuff. And my favorite was She Caught the Katy.
Mhm.
And all these songs we did are on YouTube. In fact, I put them up. My former drummer, Ernie Hernandez, who played with us on some of the songs the other day,
Yeah.
he videotaped the whole thing from the side of the stage. So it's a weird vantage point, but at least you can see and hear everything that's going on.
Mhm.
And they're all posted up there on YouTube. If you just put Yaqui the Hop 2005, they'll come up. But my favorite is She Caught the Katy. But I really enjoyed doing Blue Harbor. And we had Rudy Regalado on percussion, you on drums. We had Larry Cronin was still around on keyboard. We had Art Sanchez, we had Ronnie Reyes, we had George Ochoa, and I brought in Willie Loya on congas.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and man, we sounded damn good, you know.
Mhm.
And I'm very proud of that show. But like I said, my favorite is She Caught the Katy. In fact, I've been thinking I'm going to post it again on Facebook because it's so good. And it does relate. We just played together. I'll just say, hey, here's a time when I played with Yaqui in 2005, and I'm very proud of my vocal and our vocals on that. It was killing. As a matter of fact, Rudy Salas of theater was in the audience, and after the show, he goes, "Man," he goes, "I never heard you sing like that before," because I was
Mhm.
like totally screaming, like Eddie did in that song. And yeah, so he was shocked.
Yeah.
But that was my first opportunity to sing like that.
I
So
think there was a
that's,
couple of other there was a couple of other musicians on the audience. I believe it was the John Avila from Oingo Boingo, I believe.
yeah, and Pat Vegas of
I
Redbone,
think it's yeah,
and
yeah,
Greg Esparza, a lot of musicians were out there. Yeah, it was
yeah.
great. Great day. So
That was a great venue though. A really
yeah,
great venue. It was
yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
that was the first time you and I actually worked together.
yeah.
and it went great. You played fantastic. That's when I first got turned on to how good you were by actually playing with you. And then we didn't play together again till 2017
Mhm.
when we played A Mi Hacienda in Pico Rivera, and
Mhm.
you guys backed me on. I think it was only like three songs of "Get Your Baby," "On the Boulevard," and "I'm Brown," I believe. But that's
Yeah, those
also
are
on
three
YouTube.
songs. Yeah.
Yeah, you're pretty fond of that performance too, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I love that performance. That's why I kind of wrote to you. I think it was one time, and I'm not sure when it was, but I love that performance that we did. It was a great performance. It was a great show. The audience responded really well. It was just a good turnout. It was really a good turnout. I mean, anytime I work with you, or anytime we've worked with each other doing something like that, we've always had really, really good turnouts. I mean, it's been great. It's really been great. I'm looking forward to the one that's going to come up this Saturday up at your side of the neck of the woods, your
Yeah,
town,
yeah.
and I'll be looking forward to other ones in the future with you.
Yeah, man, it's a great combination. Um, you played for a spell with the great Little Ray.
Yeah, for a little while. It was me, Ronnie, and Art. We were and Jimmy as well. We played with Little Ray, and at that point he had got a horn section because I guess back in the day when he was young he got used to working with groups with horns. And that was a short while also. We were called, at that point, we were called Dazzle. That was the name that he gave the group, Little Ray and Dazzle. And we did some of the material, I guess, that he did when he had Little Ray and the Progressions decades ago. And then we did some current stuff that he wanted at that time, some soul stuff, some doo-wop stuff, and did a really good turnout. We played Bakersfield, we played Delano, and that was a couple months or a couple weeks in Bakersfield and a couple weeks in Delano, and then came back home, and then we played a couple of venues around town with Ray as Dazzle, Little Ray and Dazzle, and that was for a good while. That was also good. We had a really good time. Um, And I can't remember if he had a female vocalist. I can't recall at this point. But some of the background vocals were done by Ronnie, Art, and Jimmy. They did some of the background vocals with Lil Ray.
Well, Little Ray is the ultimate R&B soul singer, you know.
Yeah.
So you guys must have been doing some serious R&B.
Yeah, well, it was serious R&B, and like I says, it was all it was all about the rehearsals and doing your homework and doing your job.
And from what I've heard, he's a very much of a stickler as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you know as well as I do that in the era that we were raised and grew up in as young teenagers and into our 20s, we were all the musicians were known for having a serious rehearsals. I don't know how many days a week that you used to rehearse when you were a young teenager, but my dad made it a point to have every week of rehearsals besides doing my schoolwork to have my rehearsals every Tuesday and Thursday, Tuesday and Thursday. It went on and on and on to perfect the sound, to perfect what we were doing. And it was the same for all musicians. I mean, they took the rehearsals really serious, you know. And that's I guess that's the how can I put it? I guess that's the meat of what were raised on as young musicians as to what we are today, the professional musicians that we are today, you know.
All that time we put in, man.
Yeah.
So here in the 70s, it says again, Yaqui slash Magic 78, 79. So did you guys get back together in the late 70s?
We did after we kind of broke up a bit. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but we decided to take a little time off, I guess, and then we decided, well, let's regroup again. And when we did, it was me, Art, Ronnie, and Jimmy. And at that point, we were looking for a name. We didn't want to go back to being Yaqui because we wanted to start something of a new. Um, by that time, I think music was also changing around. So to stay alive within the circuit of the nightclub scene, what was going on, for us to kind of survive, we were leaning more towards the commercial soul, the some of the discos, a couple of the British kind of material. So that's why we called ourselves Magic at the time. And even being with Magic, we lasted a few years, and we had a few singers along the way. We had this guy named Keith. He was a great vocalist. He did a lot of blues. He did some funk stuff as well, some soul stuff that he did until he parted with the group. And then later on, we were looking for another singer, and the guy who was available to to sing with us at the time, and he stood with us for a while, was Shane Salcedo.
Hmm.
I don't know if you remember Shane.
Oh, I don't remember him.
He was a short little singer, but he was a great voice. As a matter of fact, with Shane, we did a couple of recordings with Shane itself. Some of the stuff that Jimmy had wrote, Ronnie had wrote, and then we also did I guess we revamped the song, the old Angel Baby from Rosie and the Originals. We decided to go in and we re-recorded it, but we did it disco style, you know. And then we had another song called Foolish Words that Jimmy wrote. That was more in the lines of the Commodores. You know how Lionel Richie did his certain compositions is how he wrote. Well, Jimmy had that same kind of concept and idea. And let's see what else did we do. We did do one recording with Little Ray, as a matter of fact.
Hmm.
Um, at this point, I can't even recall the name of it, but we did do one or two recordings with Little Ray. And I have those recordings somewhere in my archives. I listen to those every once in a while. Um, but yeah, that's Magic was a good group.
So now we're getting into the 80s, and you played with Bobby Zarate, the Bobby Z Band, and you toured Japan. He's a great musician, player, singer. So tell me about that experience and being in Japan.
Well, that experience was pretty cool. Well, he had a contract for about 6 months, and basically, I thought we were going to be playing different nightclubs in Japan. It turned out that it was one nightclub in Japan, private club basically, where businessmen would attend this venue, and our job was to play from 9 to 1:30. Take our 15-minute breaks. It was like 45-minute sets. We lasted at this one venue. The venue was called the Club Mugen, and that was on Akasaka. And we lasted at that venue 6 months until the contract was up, and then we came back home.
And what was it like just culturally? It must have been a culture shock to be there all that time. And what was it
What's
like?
really surprising is that after the gig, during the day, I would kind of take a bus and then roam around Japan and then take the bullet train just to see what the people were like and how they lived and everything. Uh, Part of the people there were country and Western orientated.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of the people that I spoke to, and I had to speak to a lot of the people that were from college, universities, because those were the only people that basically spoke English.
Hmm.
And and they were really hot into Elvis Presley. They were hot into the soul sounds. They were hot at that time. They were hot into reggae material, Bob Marley stuff. I was really surprised at the type of music that some of the record stores that they had there of the type of records and genres they were selling. But their biggest thing was country. They really loved country quite a bit. A lot of the different areas of Japan.
Are some of them wearing cowboy hats and the whole deal?
Not cowboy hats, but more like the cowboy shoes, and maybe not heavily into the cowboy shirts, but as far as the music, they were heavy into the country music.
Interesting. Wow. Then you were in a group called Livewire with Willie and Susan Mondragon.
Yeah, I'm sure you know those two people.
And their
Well,
sons are great singers, Eric and Billy.
I'm not sure both of them are with the group Down with Three.
Yes.
Yeah. So I worked with Willie and Susan as Livewire, and I guess Willie and Susan's home was Lito's Cork Room, and that's where I worked with them. Susan was on vocals, Willie was on vocals, um, and bass, and God, I was trying to remember. Oh, Ron Reyes occasionally would come in and play. As far as the keyboardist, I can't even remember who the keyboard player was because they had two, three of them that would come and go, so I never really got too much in tune with them. But I did work with them for about maybe probably 9 months, maybe a year, Delito's Cork Room, you know, and did other things off and on with him, other things. And a couple of the recordings that I had told you about that we did when we were Magic, Susan participated on some of those recordings as well.
Mhm.
And so did Willie, as background vocals.
And their son Billy also has sung a lot with Tierra,
Yeah, yeah.
great singer. Okay, now you did a little stint with El Chicano when Bobby Espinoza was running it, and you had Gilbert Stokes on lead vocal.
That's how I met Gilbert Stokes. How I got my name pushed over to El Chicano, I have no idea, but from what Gilbert told me, El Chicano's drummer was leaving for whatever reason it was, and one of Gilbert's friends says, "Hey, I know a drummer that you might be able to use." And it so happened to be my name. So my name got passed to Gilbert. Gilbert passed my number to Bobby Espinosa. And he was the one who called me and said, "Hey, we're looking for a drummer. You want to come down and do an audition and see how it goes?"
Was that before or after Aaron Ballesteros was in the band?
You know what? I'm kind of thinking that it was after Aaron because after I left, I think Gilbert was still singing with him. And when I was working with El Chicano, the guitar player was Mike Albert at the time. And when I left, I found out that Mike Albert had left, and then Jerry Salas came into the picture.
Hmm.
Jerry Salas came in, that's when Aaron came in. By that time, I was already gone. I was already gone by that time. While I was with El Chicano at the time, it was me, Gilbert, Bobby Espinosa. I was privileged enough to work with two percussion players. They were named the Pastor brothers. One of the Pastor brothers played timbales, the other Pastor brother played the congas. And these two Pastor brothers, they played with Pete Townsend. They did things with the Doobie Brothers. They did some stuff with what's Brian Adams. They did a lot of different things back in the day with these groups. It's really privileged and fortunate enough to and blessed to actually work with these two percussion players. And even working with these two, I honed my skills to learn what to do and what not to do when they were doing their exchanges, when it was my turn, when it was their turn. So I honed my skills on that. I honed in on all that. And it was great working with these guys, really great working with these guys. We did a lot of things for Mecha. We did a lot of things for Lowrider Magazine. Those are the two major uh, organizations that we did a lot for at the time when I was with Al Chicano.
El Chicano usually has a female vocalist.
There was no female vocalist at the time when I was there.
Oh, Because, for a while they had Jerry Gonzalez, they've had Bertha Oropesa, they've had several, because they need somebody to sing Sabor a Mi, which is one of their famous
Yeah.
recordings.
Yeah, with Ursi.
Ursi, oh, that was earlier, yeah, way back in the like
Okay.
70, 71, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get that straight because Bobby Espinoza I know he was running El Chicano in the 90s and
Yeah.
probably in the 80s too. And
Yeah.
uh, and I know that when Aaron was a drummer, they had Gilbert Stokes and they made a recording of Groovin'.
Yeah.
So were you in before they did Groovin' or after? Do you remember?
It was after because when I worked with Gilbert and El Chicano, grooving was never even brought up.
So you're
So
probably 80s and they went on
yeah,
way
yeah,
after that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. And then Fred Sanchez came back and took the band back over in the early 2000s or somewhere around
yeah,
there and still runs it. He was the original founder and leader. Okay, so that's El Chicano. Then you got Cool Breeze, and they're now known as Soto, which is still a popular group.
yeah. When I got hooked up with Cool Breeze, I wasn't doing much of anything. And once again, my number got passed from one musician to another musician to another. And then I get called from Bruce. And once again, they're looking for drummers that they're auditioning. And after I auditioned, I became the winner. So I started rehearsing with them, and it turned out that with Bruce and Artie Soto, I got to meet Randall Lemos, who was the keyboard player. I got to meet Ron Lemos, the guitar player.
Mhm.
So then you figure that was Randall, Ron, Bruce, Artie, and myself. And the other person that was in the group was Hank Castro. And we were doing a lot of, actually, we were doing a venue that was close to their home because they lived out in Norwalk. And there was a place on Imperial Highway, not too far from the 5 freeway. It was called the Tudor Inn. And basically, that was their home for quite a few years. And we started performing there for a while. So then Bruce wanted to expand a little bit. So then we started doing weddings. We started doing private parties. We did a couple of car clubs. By that time, we did a couple of park concerts throughout the different cities. And then it turns out that Bruce wound up getting a gig with Rick Dees from Kiss FM for the LA street scene.
Oh, I remember the street scene.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if it was during the summer or close to winter. We did the LA street scene, and there was quite a few groups that were playing for that LA street scene. And when we performed, we did I think it was a 45 or an hour show. And once we were done, there was another group called Brandy that was going to go on right after us. So we all decided to stick around because we wanted to see what the other band was about. Well, after the other band started, they had a female singer, and Bruce and Artie really liked this female singer, and says, "You know what? I'd like to get her in our group." So I says, "Well, I don't know. She's pretty locked in with that group, Bruce." And he says, "I'm going to talk to her." So after they got off, he talked to her, and it turns out that girl singer was named Jeanette Gerardo. And she turned down Bruce right there and then. But about 2, 3 weeks later, he called her back. And then she decided to say yes. She came down. And then she was the vocalist for Cool Breeze now with Hank Castro and the rest of the members of Cool Breeze. And we did the Bonaventure. We did a couple of the hotels. We did big corporate business parties. Let's see. Oh, private parties. We did schools. We went back to the Tudor Inn. We did the Tudor Inn again, and till the group fizzled out. It disbanded after a few years.
Hank Castro's playing with the Midnighters again in recent years, and he sang with them way back too. I mean, he's been in and out for a while, but he's been the singer for a few years now again.
Yeah.
Okay, now here's a biggie. So I was surprised when you told me that you played with Redbone. I didn't know that till you told me a few weeks ago. And you played with them when they still had Lolly Vegas and Pet
Yes, I
Vegas.
did. Yes, I did.
That is something. So tell me what that was like.
I was kind of like bouncing around from group to group, kind of
Mhm.
being a subby. And then one time I was looking for a gig because I had a dry spell for a whole month. And I was looking for a gig. So I have a book of kind of like different cards of different bands and stuff like that.
Mhm.
When I opened up my book, the first card that I got that I had for a while was the card with Rudy Salas from Tierra. And I can't even remember what that actually card looked like. So I decided, well, let me call the number. I says, "Hey Rudy, this is Ray Rodriguez, the old drummer from Yaqui." He says, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I remember you." I says, "What's up? What's going on?" So I says, "Hey, look, I want you to, pass my number around, see if anybody's looking for a drummer, whether it's for a Friday, Saturday, long or short term." So he says, "Okay." So we chatted about other things along the way, and after we hung up, it took about maybe a month. Then I got called by this guy who was looking for a drummer. The only thing he told me that his name was Lolly.
Oh,
I didn't even put anything together.
wow.
His name was Lolly. So I says, "Okay." So he asked me, "Well, you looking for a group?" I says, "Yeah." He says, what kind of style do you play, or what are you into?" So I kind of told him my background of what I've done with different groups. He says, "Okay, we're gonna have an audition in about a week and a half. I'd like for you to come down and audition." So I says, "Okay." I went down there about a week and a half, and it was actually a recording studio that I'd gone to. It was out in the valley somewhere. And if I believe I'm correct, it might have been the studio called Orion Recording Studios. I don't know if you heard of that studio. It was a huge studio. So I set up. I had this old dinky, I mean, really small dinky drum set, and I set it all up. And they threw some two jams at me that they kind of wanted to kind of feel what I would do. So I did that. Then they asked me to do a song that I think it was Pat and Lolly had wrote. So I went down there, and still at that point, I did not know that Pat and Lolly were brothers. I didn't know that that was Redbone.
You didn't recognize him. You didn't know what they looked like.
Didn't recognize him at all. So after that was done, we stopped and they says, "Hey, it's interesting. We like what you do. We like your look, and we definitely do like the way you play. But we have a little downfall." He says, "We checked out this other drummer. He's a white guy. He's a tall white guy, long hair, a rock and roll kind of guy. He's got a huge concert set, um, big concert set. If you can manage to get yourself a concert set, then you got the gig.
Wow.
And we'll give you 4 to 6 weeks." So I says, "Okay, I'll tell you." It took me a lot to get the funds that I had to get that drum set, which is the yellow Tama drum set that you probably, it's the one that I used when we did the 2005 reunion.
Oh,
That's the drum set that I got to get into Redbone. And and finally, when I called them back and I says, "Hey, I got the drum set," well, the gig was mine. At that point, I had rehearsals. And then at that point, they told me, "Well, have you heard Come and Get Your Love?" I go, "Yeah, it's been played on the radio and stuff like that." It says, "Well, I'm Lolly, this is Pat, and we're Redbone."
that's when you first found out.
Yeah, and my eyes kind of like bugged out, like, "Oh, okay." I was really surprised. I wasn't nervous or anything because my nervousness had already gone after doing the audition. So then we started working on the original material, and the first song that we started working on, and once again, I stood by every inch of the way of their writing and their arrangements and everything, was Custer Had It Coming.
Oh yeah.
And that's the song that we were working on to get the drum feel, get everything that was necessary for that particular song. Along in the group with Pat and Lally, and besides myself,
Mhm.
was a great keyboard player. Actually, two great keyboard players. First keyboard player was Harlan Specter,
I've heard of him.
great keyboard player, Hammond B3. Leslie also knew a lot of classical. He was a classical pianist. And then the other keyboard player was Hank Dandini. He was the other keyboard player, which was part of the group Rocka Blues that I was in. So he was the keyboard player there. So it was Pat Lawley, Arlen Spector, Hank Dandini, and myself. And that was the new Redbone, the second comeback to Redbone. And from that point on, we had more recordings to do. Some of the recordings that I recorded in my tracks, besides Custer Had It Coming, was Love is Magic. That was my track. Um, Mystery Man, that was also my track that we recorded. I Am Somebody, that was another recording that I did. That was my track. And One World, that was another track. I think that was like five tracks I did
So all those songs are on this Peace Pipe album, right?
on the Peace Pipe album, and all those are my tracks.
Yeah, I'm holding the CD in my hand right now, and I'll put it up on the screen so everybody could see it. But
Yeah,
so you played on the version of Custer Had It Coming.
yes, yes,
Wow.
that was on my drumming. I might have done one or two venues. We didn't do any gigging at all other than two that we did. Our whole focus at the time is that we were focused 100% on putting the new album out, which was going to be the new Redbone album. And that's what we did. There might have been one more song that maybe I was in the process of doing, but I think it got shelved. I don't even recall the name of that song. I just recall these five. But the album never got off the ground, and it was half an album that was done, you know. And it was
What year was that? I'm looking at this, but it's so small.
well with the we started. I think we started the album in 1989,
Mhm.
which there's a very raw. I mean, I'm talking about the rawest you can get of Custer Had It Coming. It's on YouTube right now, and it's a Redbone 1989 Custer Had It Coming.
Okay.
So that's on YouTube right now.
And was it Rudy Salas that gave him your number, or how did he get your number?
Yeah, Rudy Salas gave Lolly my number, and all he told me that he had a friend of his that was looking for a drummer. That's all he told me, and that's how that came about.
Wow. So I must say this, if you played with Redbone, you have to be great because they always had the best drummers, Pete DePoe, Butch
Yeah.
Valera, all their drummers. You got to be really good to play their stuff.
Well, we had really a good time. I mean, I guess the best time that I had with him was actually being in the studio, focusing, just just honing on everything that I was supposed to do. You know, getting all my parts, getting the right drumming for the particular song that would fit the song, and just to be just right. You know, that that was my whole focus to the Redbone material.
It really helped you that you had all that studio experience with the Yaqui album and all that. You knew what you were
Yeah.
doing in the studio.
Well, I'm not sure if I recall telling you before, is like when we were doing the Yaqui album, after even my whole session was done, and even with Rudy's, Rudy would go ahead and take off to either eat, or he was going to take off, and my time was done. But I stood in the recording studio watching George Ochoa, watching Art, Ronnie, Eddie, putting the vocals together, putting the harmonies together, just you know, uh, bouncing their harmonies back and forth, doing the arrangements, listening to it, doing what they were doing. And that's basically how I was being focused into doing what I do, trying to create parts for certain things just by watching what they did in the studio. That taught me a lot. I was blessed with that.
Well, as you know, there's a lot of great drummers, but many of them don't have studio experience, and it's a whole different animal. You're under a microscope, it's like a whole different thing.
Well, the thing that I did learn is that once you perform in the public eye, once you're on stage, whether it's a venue of 1,000 people, 10,000 people, your performance is entirely different. I mean, entirely different as to what it is when you're in a studio recording. In the recording, it's a whole different ball game. That's one thing I learned how to separate the live performances to the studio performances.
And it bleeds into your live. Like once you have studio experience, you play better live because, like we were
Yeah.
discussing earlier, you know how to stay out of the way of the vocalist, you
Mhm.
not be too busy. All that it counts, even live.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then you were in rock and blues, and that was with Ronnie Reyes, Hank Dandini, Richard Rodriguez, the bass player Richard Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Hmm. That was in the
So
90s.
we used to call him Little Richie.
And so it was mainly a blues group.
We were being basically a blues group and kind of rock and every once in a while Gilbert Stokes would come in and sing every once in a while when he'd come to hear us play and say we were doing blues songs, we were doing shuffles, any type of blues material we were doing. Uh, Gilbert would come up and sing. A couple of the other singers like Gene Sesma would also come up and sing, you know. We had a lot of fun. We used to play a lot at Stevens Steakhouse
Hmm.
in Whittier. We played there quite a bit.
In Whittier, or do you mean the one in Commerce? Or
No, the one in Commerce
that's
is
Steven Steakhouse.
no, no, I'm sorry, I take that back. It's Steve's Barbecue. I'm sorry,
Oh,
Steve's
okay,
Barbecue.
okay.
I'm sorry for that. Steve's Barbecue in Whittier. Stevens Steakhouse we did occasionally, but it was mainly Steve's Barbecue in Whittier. And playing there, we also played the Firehouse Grill, which was a couple of blocks away from Steve's Barbecue. We played there quite a bit. And then what other place did we play? Oh, we played quite a bit at the Santa Fe Swap Meet as Raga
Mhm.
Blues.
But you didn't record?
We did recordings. Yeah, we did recordings. Nothing that got off the ground.
Hmm.
I have recordings that we did uh, as Rocka Blues. Did a couple of rock recordings and a couple of blues recordings. One thing I forgot to mention that we did record when we were Magic, but I'll talk to you about that a little bit later. You know, but as far as Rocka Blues, uh, we did uh, we did a couple of blues recordings. Well, Gene Sesma did one or two of them that we did, and then Ron Reyes did some of the vocals on some of the blues recordings that we did, and then a guy named Keith also.
What did you record with Magic?
In Magic, we were going in the lines of kind of like the style of Kansas Foreigner, Boston type style
And that was kind of the Yaqui guys that changed their name to Magic.
to Magic, yeah. And one of the song, well, we have four of them, which was called um, Fantasies. That was one. Are You Confused? Was another one. There was two other ones that we did. I can't remember offhand, but these
But
two,
they weren't released.
no, they were not released. I have them on tracks in my computer. I have them on CD, but nothing that was released. There was about four or five tunes that we did, you know.
Was George involved in that group?
No, no. It was just Ronnie, Art, Jimmy, and myself, you
No.
know. So that was it.
So what's the story about Shades of LA in the early 2000s?
Shades of LA is that was an up and down kind of group that lasted. It was like a roller coaster ride with that group. There were hot and cold, and we did a lot of um, biker places. We did sports bars. Um, uh, the material that we did for that group was blues material. We did um, R&B material. We did some Latin salsa material pertaining to either Santana, Malo, Mana. We did that type of material. Nothing original, nothing
No
original.
recordings.
No recordings at all. Yeah, cover stuff. And it was pretty good. It was a damn pretty good group while it lasted.
Mhm.
But it did last a long time. And like I says, I was in and out of the group, in and out of the group. Sometimes we had our little differences, and I says, hey, I got to step out for a while. After a couple months, I came back in, and came back for about 6 months, 9 months, and it must have lasted for about maybe a decade or so. And like I says, it was a good group, but it was up and down. We had, as far as musicians, we had Ruben Amaro, Frank Oliveras on. Ruben Amaro was a guitar player, background vocal. Frank Oliveras, a vocalist. Um, I think Rich Rodriguez came in once or twice to play bass. Far as keyboards, I think it was Hank came in for a while. Uh, that was Hank Dandini. Let me see who else. Um, God, I can't recall. There was a few other players that were weaving in and out. That that basically Ruben and Danny. Danny was his brother. Was kind of the managers of the group. Oh, and they also had David Castaneda. I don't know if you recall him.
Singer.
Yeah, singer.
Was he
He,
the one that sang with Cannibal or the Headhunters for a
yeah, he
while?
sang Cannibal with Headhunters for a while too. That was also an up and down kind of thing. But that's all I could recall for that group.
Yeah.
It was up and down for quite a few years.
So what amazes me is like in recent years, you haven't been playing a lot and you've done a lot of caretaking, as we've discussed. So it
Yeah.
amazes me whenever you've played with me, you're ready to roll, man. You're hot and you're playing great
Mhm.
without playing regularly. That's been pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Well, in the first the list that I gave you, where you see the first downtime on the list, is because I had a shoulder injury
Hmm.
that put me out of commission. At that time, I was playing with Rocka Blues at the time,
Hmm.
and I was out of commission for about I would say 3 to 4 years. I tore my rotator cuff
Hmm.
in two places, and when I found out that the surgery was only a 50-50 recovery state, I declined the surgery and I called for extra therapy.
Good move.
So with the extra therapy, my regular therapy was about a year, year and a half, and then I had an additional 2 year therapy on that. And when I started to feel better about having my arm being, mobile again, having to move it, I would get calls from time to time from different musicians. Hey, Ray, we're playing here, we're playing there. Why don't you come down and check it out or whatever, or we're looking for a drummer. I wasn't ready for it. My mind wasn't in the frame of mind for it. But I says, I'll go down one of these days, and I kept on putting it off. But one day, my wife says, you know what? Go down there, look at your old friends, and then you need to do this, for your own peace of mind. So I did. I went down there, and that's when my arm was feeling a little bit better. So I went down to see this one group. It was at I think it was a place called in Whittier. There was a place called the Slam Dunk. I don't know if you heard of that
No.
venue. It was kind of like a little blues rock place, a little sports bar. And I was watching this group there, and the drummer that I met there, I says, "Hey, my name is Ray Rodriguez. I play with such and such. I was out of commission for a while, and I says I like the way you guys play, and I says I come to hear you guys, so and so told me that you were going to be here to come check you guys out, so I'm here." So before the end of the night was over, the drummer comes up to me and says, "Hey, do you want to play a song?" So I said, "No, no, it's okay, it's okay." So he comes up to me again and he says, "Come on, play a song." So I says, "Okay, I'll play a slow one." So I played like a slow oldie, and I got into the drum set. And let me tell you something, it was all over with. I needed to get back on my drums. So when I went back home by the next day, my wife is looking at me, what are you doing? I says, hey, I'm gonna set up the drum set. At that time, I was living in Whittier, so I had a garage back then. So I started setting up my set and everything, and the best that I could because I still wasn't totally strong with my arm, but I was able to do it. So little by little, I started practicing and practicing, and that's how it came about. So it wasn't until about a year later, or maybe a year and a half, after I was woodshedding, that I wound up calling Richie, and I says, hey, uh, I'm gonna come down check you guys out. Maybe you might, let me play maybe a song or two. And from that point on, that's how it all started back again, you know. And the second time that I had the downtime was because of problems, medical problems with my wife at home. That's when I took time off. And that was my other part of downtime. Then COVID came in, so everything stopped for me at that time until you and I started to work in 2017. And then from that point on, I started doing little gigs here and there, back and forth, so forth and so forth, you know. And then I was doing gigs off and on with Gilbert Stokes. He called me to do a casual Roosevelt High School reunion, a couple of weddings, a couple of corporate parties that I played for. And yeah, that's basically been my current uh, state of playing at this point till now, you know.
Well, I was very, very happy with your playing, and every time I played with you, you kicked the butt, and
Thank you. I thank
everything
you.
is very, very tight and great grooves.
Other than that, that's about stories I got.
Yeah, well, that's about it. Any parting words, anything you'd like to say in closing about your career or anything else?
Well, like I tell everybody, some of my family tells me because I hadn't been playing that much, and some of them would say, "Well, I thought you quit playing because I noticed you weren't playing as much." I says, "No, I'm just kind of putting it in the back burner for a while." Oh, well, maybe you should, kind of chill it. You're of age. And my reaction to that, what I tell him, I says, look, let me tell you something. Uh, Lord has given me the opportunity and blessed me to still do my craft and still play drums. And as long as I can still play my drums, I'm gonna play drums, whether it's a lot or a little bit. And that's basically what I'm gonna do for whatever length of time. I'm gonna do it for as much as I can, you know, until I can't do it no more, you know. And that's my parting with that. And like I said before, I'm looking forward to working with you quite a bit, whether it's with your separate projects, working with you and Ronnie and Art and everybody else and Jimmy, all of us together, or even if you want to call on me for a special recording that you want to do, I'll be there for you.
Appreciate it, man. And thank you for doing the show. And we're gonna rock on Saturday.
Cool. And um, I'm glad and happy for your having me on your show.
All right, man. I'll talk
Okay.
to you later.
All right then. You
Thank
have a
you.
good night, huh?
You too, man. Bye bye.
Right. Bye bye.